All right, I want to get to this piece of audio here. Actually, I'm going to get Paul Nixey on first. All right, Paul Nixey is a public relations consultant and a crisis communications manager in Vancouver. You can follow him on Twitter at Paul Nixey. Now, Paul's up late for us in Vancouver. Now, Paul, people for the most part understand that journalists, even if you tell them not to ask questions, they're going to ask questions anyway, right?
It's their job to do. The media will ask questions. That's what they're there for. And I tend to look at press conferences like a cocktail party. So if you've invited journalists into your home, you need to be a good host. You've invited them in. They've taken time out of their day to attend. So that means being polite, gracious, and sometimes firm about an end time to the party. But they're just doing their jobs.
When you are a lawyer or someone who is planning on making a statement or a press conference, do you need to be very clear up front when you send out the invite? You know, this today was essentially a statement because they didn't want any questions asked. Do you need to put that on the table before the invite's even sent?
You absolutely do. Yeah. If you don't have an agreement with journalists on the ground rules of your press conference, then you don't have an agreement. If you've spoken to them up front and everyone's on board, you should consider yourself that people are going to ask questions. Again, that's the job. Today was a great example. Mr. Atwell wanted to clear his name, and instead the stories that we're seeing this afternoon as a result are focused on the behavior of the lawyer and not on his message. So he got knocked off message, and the lawyer did not come across looking great.
Now, what the lawyer did today when he stood up just before the press conference and said, by the way, this is just going to be a statement, you're not allowed to ask questions, is that an appropriate thing to do in that moment?
It's not. I'm not sure why he wouldn't have just released that as a statement. Again, you've invited people in. The assumption is that journalists will be there to do their jobs, which is ask tough questions. And hopefully you've prepared your client to answer those tough questions. The journalists may not like the answers that they get back, but it doesn't mean that we try to prevent the media from doing their job.
If you were Atwell this afternoon and this guy is your lawyer, would you be annoyed that the lawyer in this situation has sucked all the oxygen out of the room in this story?
Well, sure. It sounds like a case where people watch a lot of TV, they see these crime shows or they see politicians on television, and press conferences look very easy. But the art of managing a press conference is actually quite difficult, and it takes some skill and some finesse. And you should probably have some relationships with the journalists that you've invited, because at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that are writing the stories about you.
You might want to have a relationship with lawyers, says Paul Nixey, a relationship with journalists. Well, guess what? I think that lawyer collectively pissed off every single journalist, because if you know how journalists work, because they work in such tight quarters, regardless of whether they work for Global or CTV or City or the CBC, guess what? They all know each other, and they all likely drink with each other as well, because they all cover the same story. So they've actually built a bit of a family amongst themselves. You're going to hear a piece of audio here. By the way, that was Paul Nixey. He is a public relations consultant and crisis communications manager, and he was up late for us in Vancouver tonight. In this